So biologically, our systems, our bodies are preparing us for death after the age of 30. And so now that we're living to 70 and 80 and 90, we have a problem. Our bodies aren't making superoxide dismutase like they used to. And my theory about why chronic disease escalates, goes through the roof after 40 is because that's exactly when our bodies stop making this superoxide dismutase.
Welcome to Homes That Heal, the podcast that transforms your life and home into a sanctuary of health, healing, and happiness. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and your guide to living intentionally. Each week, we'll explore a variety of wellness tools, along with detoxification, weight loss, and anti-aging tips to boost your energy and align your mind and body so you can thrive in life, not just survive. Your health is your wealth, and it all starts at home. Let's dive in and create a home that heals. Hey friends, welcome back to Homes That Heal. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having an amazing week. I, for one, am enjoying this fabulous fall weather. I don't know about you, but if you don't already know, I am in southern Wisconsin, born and raised in the Midwest, and I love the beach and love the sun, but I got to tell you, I also love the seasons, the 4 seasons that we experience here in the Midwest, and the fall is secretly, because I'm a heat warrior and I love the summer too, but it's secretly my favorite time of year because it just feels so fresh and renewing and crisp. And I don't know, the leaves falling, they're not falling yet, but the leaves fall from the trees and, you know, the nights get cooler. Yes, the days get shorter. That's kind of a bummer, but at the end of the day, it just like feels good. It's a great time to go inward, rev up some detoxification protocols, get back to some basics, get back on the rails if you kind of found yourself off the rails a little bit for summer. But it's always my most fun time because I work in the health and wellness space. So it's kind of like the new year. I think in Kabbalah, actually, if I remember correctly, that this is actually technically like the new year, I think in September. But just September, October, that time frame just feels good to kind of hit the reset button on a few things. So consider this your nudge if you've been thinking about that. This is your nudge from the universe to kind of, find a couple new recipes, get back into some better sleeping habits or patterns, clean out some closets. I don't know, clean out the clutter. It's just a really fun time of year for me. So also, we sink into winter and it's, sauna season. And if you know me well, you know that that's one of my favorite times of the year as well. So before we jump into introducing my guest today, with that being said, in and around like home and getting back into basics and, maybe just fine tuning some things in your lifestyle and in your routines. If you haven't done so already, hop on over to the jenhellerlifestyle.com site. There you can find the home wellness checklist. That's a free downloadable guide, but also the Jen recommends pages, home health books and connections. Those are loaded with some really great reads. I'm going to talk about EnergyBits today. That's also going to be on the website. But if you're looking for some new, fun, fresh ideas, hop on over to the site and get inspired. And that's at jenhellerlifestyle.com. So, okay, let's switch gears. Today, we're going to talk to my friend, Catharine Arnston from EnergyBits. And I have to just tell you, well, you'll hear for yourself actually shortly, but Catharine is one of the most passionate women I know. She is a vibrant 70 years young, and she's going to shine a super bright light on the massive amount of health benefits of algae. Now, if you were just like, did she just say algae? As in growing in the water, growing in the sea, algae? Yes, I did. I said algae. I've been eating algae for years, and I guarantee you, you're going to learn something new today. Catharine is the founder and CEO of EnergyBits. She started the company after her sister was diagnosed with breast cancer and was advised by her oncologist that an alkaline diet would help her heal. So Catharine immediately sprang into action, as any sister would, to help research alkaline foods, and in the process, she discovered algae. When she learned that it was the most alkaline, plant-based, nutrient-dense food in the world, and used for 50 years to improve health and longevity, she knew she had discovered something pretty powerful. As Catharine dug deeper into the science, she also learned that algae is 64% protein, loaded with rich vitamins and minerals, plus endorsed by NASA as the most nutrient-dense food in the world. She also discovered there were 100,000 studies documenting its long list of benefits, and it was the most sustainable, eco-friendly food crop in the world. I think that's just so interesting. When she shared that statistic, I too was like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. You'd never think that. Anyways, Catharine quickly realized that algae could be a health game changer, but she needed to find a way to convince people it wasn't weird. And I can totally understand that. So EnergyBits was born, and it took her 10 years to bring algae into mainstream. And I, for one, am grateful she did. I love it. It's been a staple in my routine for years. It was instrumental in my healing journey, especially early on when I was loaded with heavy metals. And I'm super excited to get into the weeds, pun intended, with Catharine today. If you're curious how algae can support debilitating disease, cancer, brain health, nutrition, fabulous skin, healthy hair, and just overall longevity, or maybe you're loaded with metals like I was, grab a pen because it's going to be a loaded conversation. Let's dive in. Hi, Catharine. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I wanted to talk to you about the massive benefits of algae. How did you decide to go down this?
Yeah. Yes. Well, you may know I'm Canadian by birth, although I've lived in Boston, Massachusetts for 35 years and recently relocated to Miami this year. And I am so happy to be here because I'm warm and I'm getting sun and all that sort of good stuff. But I mentioned the Canada thing because all my education was done in Canada. My MBA was in international business and I had a satisfying corporate career like many people. Satisfying, but, wasn't my path, but I didn't know that at the time. And then 17 years ago, my younger sister, I have two sisters, both of who live in Canada. And they're all I have left because my parents have passed. So I'm very close to them. And so my baby sister was diagnosed with breast cancer out of the blue. She was healthy. I mean, we were stunned. And then her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet as she was preparing for her chemo. But the oncologist, which fortunately happened to be a woman, because women tend to be a bit more open to nutritional things, she didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why specifically it was good for her. So I love my sister, and I just happen to be a great researcher. And in fact, I recently got my PhD last year. So I said, I have no idea what this alkaline diet stuff is, but I will find out. And I just went on the internet, and anybody could. And it turned out two things I found was mostly a plant-based diet. And I believe it was because of the chlorophyll and the phytonutrients in plants, which have been proven to build your immune system. And so my sister's oncologist wanted her to have a strong immune system because she was going through chemo. It was really interesting. There was a German scientist by the name of Otto Warburg, who back in the 30s won a Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer cannot exist in cells if they are slightly alkaline. So this was to prevent the cancer from growing into more cells. So I believe this was the other reason why my sister's oncologist wanted her to have that alkaline diet. So I found foods for her to choose to eliminate. She went through chemo. She completely changed her diet. She still has an alkaline diet, and she completely healed. And 17 years later, we celebrate her being cancer-free every year. And I'll see her in 2 weeks. We have a girls' trip every year, all that sort of good stuff. But in the process of helping her, I started learning about plant-based nutrition and alkaline diets and yada, yada, yada. Now, this was 17 years ago. Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition. And anyone who knows me knows I'm very passionate. I'm an action person. I don't just think something, I think and then do it. A little voice in me said, you have to do something about this. It's like made zero sense. I had no nutrition background. By then I had no money because I'd taken the time off from my job to help my sister. So I had no money, no nutrition background, but something just propelled me to do something. So I thought, okay, I'll do something. I thought, well, I don't know what. So Louise Hayes was alive at the time, and she started Hay House Publishing, of course. And she was so soulful. And at the time, she was still doing lectures. And I'd read a lot of Hay House books, so I knew about her. And this one lecture she was doing, it was in December, and it was called Find Your Path. And I thought, that's what I need. I need something like what Louise. So I got on a bus because I had no money, and I took a bus to New York to attend this conference. And the funny thing was, I didn't even get into the conference before I had my epiphany because I was in the lineup at Javits Center to get a tea. And in the lineup to get coffee, there was this woman standing in front of me, and I heard her talking to the person beside her, and I heard snippets of the conversation, which was a holistic nutrition, powerful, transformative. So I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, like, what are you talking about? And she had just graduated from a place called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which was in New York. At the time, the classes were still live. They're now all online. So I went to the Lise Hay conference, got motivated to change my life. I took a bus back that night to Boston. I went online to check out this Super Integrative Nutrition. Turns out there was a new course being launched like in 2 weeks. Registration closed like the next day. I registered on the spot and I got registered. And so for the next 9 months, I took a bus. There was a bus service that was just launching. I can't remember the name of it, but because it was just launching, if you booked far enough in advance, you could get a bus from Boston to New York for $1. $1. A megabus, that's the name of it. So here I has no money, didn't know what I was doing, but I knew all my courses. They were on the weekends. They were at Avery Fisher Hall, 1,600 people in each class. It was like a cross between an Oprah show and a rock concert. It was the unbelievable experience. I stayed with friends. I slept on their sofa, and I got my certificate in health coaching. I know this is a very long story, but I've actually never gone this deep in the story, but it's what happened, and it's kind of a miracle. This is how the universe works. It just gives you a little hint of the next step. It never tells you the full outcome. It just gives you the next step. And if you're up to it, if you take that next step, then you get the next step. It's like taking a road trip, except the map that you're following only gives you the directions or the roads to the next city. And then you just get to the next city, and then the rest of the map shows up, or like it's GPS, because the GPS shows you the intervals. So this is how the universe works. And I was all on board. So I got the certificate of health coaching for holistic health. And then I thought, well, now what? So I put together my own curriculum teaching plant-based nutrition at corporations and hospitals. I gave the lectures for free, because I thought, well, I'll get a few clients who want health coaching. Didn't quite work out that way. And this is what truly led me down to algae, because as I was teaching the importance of eating more plants, more vegetables, everybody, and sometimes there were like 50 or 100 people in the class, they started laughing. Oh, I know I'm supposed to eat more vegetables, but they had every excuse in the world. They either gave them gas, their kids wouldn't eat them, their husbands wouldn't eat them. They were too heavy to carry home from the grocery store. They went bad quickly. They threw most of it out. They expired quick, like 1,000 lists. So I thought, okay, I know what this nutrition does for people. The voice said, you need to find a way to get nutrition into them in a way that's effortless or doesn't taste bad and doesn't give them gas. Once again, I had no idea what I would find or how I would find it, but I just went back to everything I'd found for my sister. And it took me almost a month. I tried this, I tried that. When I got to algae, it was just one of many things I had recommended to her. So it wasn't the solution when I was helping her, but it became the solution when I realized I needed to help people find an easier, simpler way to get this plant-based nutrition. So as I dug into algae, it turned out it's the most alkaline food in the world. So that box was checked, and it's considered the most nutrient-dense food in the world. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae, doesn't matter whether it's spirulina or chlorella, has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of vegetables. We sell them in these large bags of 1,000 tablets. So I used that calculation to determine 1 bag, it doesn't matter whether it's spirulina or chlorella, has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables right here. To give you a visual, that's 30 grocery carts of food, the nutrition in 1 bag. So nutrient dense, off the charts. The United Nations has endorsed spirulina algae for 50 years as the answer to world hunger. Why? Because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world. 3 times the amount of protein as steak. Chlorella has almost as much as 60%. And it's been grown in Asia for 60 years. Yes, algae is a food. It is not a supplement. They take it every day and have for 60 years. There's 100,000 studies documenting all of the different benefits of spirulina and chlorella. Reducing inflammation, preventing Alzheimer's, preventing heart disease, preventing gut issues. Like, the list is endless. And the best is they come in little tiny tablets about the size of a baby aspirin. Each tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables, and all you need to do is swallow or chew a handful every morning. Each one of these an entire plate of vegetables. So while I'm talking to you, Jen, I just had a plate of vegetables. Now, most people do swallow the spirulina because it's very chewy and it has a very earthy flavor. But now you're getting all the nutrition that you need effortlessly. It lasts for 3 years. Your kids will love them. Your husbands will love them. No preparation whatsoever. And it's food. It will fully nourish you. I call spirulina your nutritional insurance. And we'll talk about the difference in a minute. I talk about chlorella being your health insurance because this is a nourishing brain food and chlorella is a detoxing wellness food. So once I learned all about this, about algae, I thought, oh my God, this has to be brought to the world. Asians shouldn't be the only ones benefiting from it. So that was in 2010, which was 15 years ago. And I have continued to do deep dives on the science. I am more enthusiastic about algae than I was 15 years ago because I know more. I almost know too much. And I am going to get this to the world because it will solve virtually all of our nutritional problems, all of our medicinal chronic disease problems, our environmental problems. It's the most sustainable, eco-friendly crop in the world. And it up levels every single biohack like saunas, cold plunges, red light. Everything is better with algae. We're better together with algae.
You're speaking my language. You literally just answered probably 10 of the questions that I had. So thank you so much. I love your enthusiasm, by the way. Like, this is exactly why I wanted to speak with you because we met. Shout out to Dave Asprey. Is that not the best conference on the planet? Loves the biohacking. Now it's called the Beyond Conference, but I've been going to this for years.
For him, he's always ahead of everybody. Good.
I know. The who's who, what I love about that show and that event is that people who are very serious and have gone the extra mile to actually do the research, not just tout opinions. Thought leaders are there. People who actually also have the intention to do exactly what you just said, like shout this from the rooftops. Everybody needs to know. We need to rip the mask off, if you will, the rug out from underneath everything that we've been taught and conditioned to understand. Mother Nature has brought us, everything.
Absolutely.
And chlorella was the binder actually that I used 15 years ago to help save my life and get the mercury out of my body. Now, it wasn't EnergyBits, unfortunately. However, yeah, exactly.
That's the most important thing is it worked. Yeah,
exactly. And so I was working with a practitioner at the time that was doing muscle testing to help me tell my body was telling me what I needed, what was releasing and what I needed versus just going willy-nilly with some different supplements and random stuff off the market. It was like, no, this is the purest, rawest form at that time. This is what you need. And it saved my life. Like this, that's why I'm here. I was in my corporate job. I have to tell you too, but I also found the Institute of Integrative Nutrition 15 years ago. Not the same story as yours.
I graduated in 2009. When were you there?
I was in 2009 and 2010. Yes.
We were in the same class.
I wasn't no, I was doing online. I was in Wisconsin. So I was doing online. That's why I was trying to figure, I was going to ask you the timing because I was on a plane headed out to Costa Mesa to go to a David Wolf conference,
I met David Wolf there too. Yeah.
At the time, and my friend Ashley, who's my practitioner, she's the one who said, like, you should really dig into this, now that you're going down your own health path, because I felt the similar thing. I started feeling like called to help other people. Like, why don't other people know about infrared saunas? Why don't other people know about this algae that can help? It's very easy to get and it's cost effective. People need to know about this stuff. So same thing. I think I was in school. I did 12 months and then I did like another 6-month course to go into like
so we might have crossed over. You might have gone into the next because that right then the next year they really started preparing to go online. I don't even know whether it was online in 2009 because it had always been in person. But I've heard that the online was really good, but the in person was life changing.
I was going to say I would have loved to have gone. I think I was the first group to be online because
I think that was
similar to what you said. When I discovered IIN, I had like 3 days to make a decision. They were phasing enrollment and I was like, right, okay, let's go. I remember thinking like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to pay for this. I think I put it on a credit card. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, but I need to do this. Like, this is something that I feel called to do. So
too funny. The same situation. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's interesting. Obviously, I'm not shocked that we run in the same circles and that we, collided at the Dave Asprey conference. But I want to go back really quickly to I was all over the board this morning. Like, do we talk about chlorella and then spirulina, or like how do we because they're
Completely different, and they do
yeah.
completely different things. Yeah. Well, I can start there if you want and sort of walk people through and even go a little higher level to explain that algae is a food category. So, you have vegetables and you have fruit, and algae is its own category. And within that category, there are two main subcategories. There's macroalgae and microalgae. And spirulina and chlorella are two examples of microalgae. Macroalgae is that big stringy stuff that washes up on shore, also known as seaweed or dulse or kelp. It's only in the sea, and it's still good for you because it has high fiber and it will have iodine because it's from the ocean, but it has virtually zero nutrition. So high fiber, really only in the sea, zero nutrition. Microalgae, which is what we're talking about, is completely opposite. First of all, it's everywhere. Yes, it's in the ocean. That's what feeds the fish and the whales, but it's also in rivers, lakes, streams, your soil, your aquarium, your swimming pool, and it's harvested as a food crop. I'm going to show you a picture of farms. This is a spirulina farm. This is a chlorella farm. So these are harvested in fresh water. So yes, there is algae in the ocean, but spirulina and chlorella are farmed hydroponically in fresh water. Why ours is so much higher quality? And it's two things. One is we grow it in fresh water that's triple filtered, so there's no toxins, because algae will absorb whatever's in the water. That's why you actually never want to eat algae that's from the ocean or lakes, like Klamath Lake. Please don't eat that stuff, because you can't keep mycotoxins out of bodies of water. And we do mycotoxin testing. Of course, we never have any. So ours in triple filtered stream mountain water. The most important thing, we'll talk about this later, is we dry it into a powder, and we do not use high heat. So we can preserve all the nutrients, the pigments, the enzymes, and then we press them into these little tablets that we affectionately call bits, because they're bits of food. So algae is its own food category, macro and micro. Microalgae is called microalgae because it's microscopic in size. You can get almost like 1 million cells on the head of a pin. And there's tens of thousands of strains. Two of the most popular ones that people know about are blue-green and green. One strain of blue-green algae is spirulina, and one strain of green algae is chlorella. And I mention this because sometimes people will go online and they'll read about a blue-green algae bloom closing their favorite beach, and they'll panic and they go, oh my God, spirulina. No, it's just another strain of blue-green algae. It's like your cousin who turned out to be the black sheep of the family doing something. It's not you, it's not your family, it just happens to be a relation. So don't get mad at spirulina. It's not spirulina that's closing your beach. However, I will point out poor algae gets the bum rap, because the algae bloom showed up because there was toxins and bacteria in the water. And guess what algae does? It absorbs toxins and kills bacteria. It's the cleanup crew. So it's Mother Nature's cleanup crew. You couldn't see the toxins, but you can see the algae. Still stay away from it because it is toxic, because it's absorbing all that stuff. By the way, it does the same thing in your body too. So back to spirulina being one strain of blue-green algae, and chlorella one strain of green algae. And there's thousands of others. So what do these two different algae do? Well, spirulina is known for giving you energy. In fact, we call ours EnergyBits for that reason. But it's not the kind of energy you get from a stimulant like caffeine, chemicals, or sugar, which simply speed up molecules. So you generally get a rush and then a crash. It's like putting paper on a fire. Spirulina generates energy at the cellular level, and we'll talk about some of that later on. But first of all, it's a complete protein. It has 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 your body can't make, and it has all the B vitamins that convert the protein into energy at the cellular level. And then spirulina has very important nutrients that protect and improve the speed by which that cellular energy, which is called ATP, is made. One of them is through an antioxidant called superoxidismutase, and we'll talk about that later on, which allows the mitochondria to continue to generate and be protected, because as you get older, you lose those antioxidants and you have fewer mitochondria, which is why you have less energy as you get older. So spirulina, known for giving you energy at the cellular level. It also is loaded with essential fatty acids. And because your brain has the most mitochondria per cell in your entire body, 2 million per cell, and because your brain is mostly fat, And because spirulina helps build the mitochondria and because it has high essential fatty acids, I refer to spirulina as brain food because the first thing that really starts working better is your brain because it turns on everything. All of your neurotransmitters work better, so it improves your focus, it helps prevent dementia. And there's a great book by the name of Dr. Chris Palmer. He's a psychiatrist and also on the medical school at Harvard, and he wrote a book called Brain Energy. And he talks about how every brain disorder ultimately is tracked to damaged mitochondria. And so spirulina heals your mitochondria. Now, spirulina, because it has so much protein, it's 64%, which is 3 times more than steak, chicken, fish, anything. It satisfies your hunger. So we were talking earlier about your massive weight loss. If anyone's on a weight loss program or if you're on a GLP-1, please take this every day. Most people are hungry and tired in the morning, so take this in the morning. 10 tablets would be your entry level. 30 would be lunch or a therapeutic amount. So if you're trying to correct, and there's no upper limit, this is food. Some people need 1 egg to be satiated. Some need 4. So 10 tablets might be sufficient for you to get rid of your hunger and feel that wake up. Well, the best way I describe how you feel when you take spirulina is you feel fresh. That's it. No drama. You might not even notice it if you took 10 or 20 tablets and then went and sat on the sofa and watched Netflix because your body does not store ATP. As the ATP, which is your cellular energy, is created, it's directed to where it needs to go in the moment. So if you're working out or if you're writing an exam or you're doing brain surgery, if you're doing brain surgery, your focus will be improved. If you're working out, your effort, your energy will be improved. But if you're sitting on the sofa, you'll just won't be hungry and you'll just feel fresh. That's it.
Yep.
So very nourishing, satisfying your hunger, protective nutrients for your mitochondria, and very much brain food. And GLP-1 people, please take this. You should take 30 a day because we want to protect your muscles from wasting. Because when you lose weight rapidly, what goes is your lean muscle mass if you aren't taking in enough protein. And spirulina has a very high protein.
Thank you for mentioning that. There's quite the conversation around that right now with the different supplements and things that people can take. I took 15 tablets this morning. I do every morning.
Good girl.
Yes.
Me too.
I chew them. I know you're not, the green in your teeth, I don't care usually. If I'm going to be recording, I sometimes just take them down with some water. But correct me if I'm wrong, but chewing it immediately, basically within seconds in the bloodstream, right? Like
absolutely. Because it gets in sublingually through your mouth. And within, 5 or 10 minutes, I forgot to mention, thank you for mentioning that. Spirulina is not even a plant. It's a bacteria. And why is that important? It's because there's no cellulose wall for your body to break down to get access to all the 40 vitamins and minerals, the high concentration of protein, the superoxide dismutase. So literally seconds. And remember, it has 2 pigments in it, chlorophyll, which is Chlorella just has chlorophyll, and also the blue pigment phycocyanin. We'll talk about that in a minute. But chlorophyll kills bacteria. So if you are chewing it, it will kill bacteria in your mouth. And remember, anything you swallow gets into the rest of your body. And so a lot of people have a lot of bacteria and bad breath. You carnivores out there, we know you have bad breath because all that meat gets stuck in your teeth. And what happens is bacteria attacks it and it starts fermenting. And that's what's causing bad breath. So anyone who's carnivore, please choose your chlorella and spirulina so we can get rid of your bad breath.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the phycocyanin. I think that's important as it relates to cancer. And because I know your science-backed research, that's your wheelhouse, is to make sure that we've got science-backed information. You said something, I think, on Dave's show, and I actually wrote it down because I want to quote it so that we're not like having the FDA or, whoever on our tails. But you said, Mother Nature gave us the capability to kill cancer cells.
Yes.
And so that to me is a mic drop. So can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah. Well, and also I want to let people know that, and whether it's the FDA or anybody listening, it's not algae that's helping prevent or correct these conditions. It's the nutrients found in algae. And we'll talk about superoxide dismutase later on because there's 25,000 studies proving that superoxide dismutase reduces inflammation, prevents dementia, prevents heart disease. These are slam dunk scientific papers. You can't argue with 25,000. Same with phycocyanin, maybe not 25,000, but there's thousands of studies on phycocyanin. So but you can only find phycocyanin in spirulina. It does not exist anywhere else. By the way, superoxymatase does not exist in medicinal quantities in any other food either. Not supplements, nothing. So, algae is Mother Nature's pharmacy. Okay. And I always say on any podcast that, because people say, well, who's your mentor? I say Mother Nature, because she has provided us with absolutely everything that we need to be healthy. And most of it's free. Sleep is free. Sun is free. Breath is free. Sleep is, yeah. And algae, when we talk about, we've got a discount code. And if you take 10 tablets a day and you use this discount code, 10 tablets a day will cost you $1 a day. It's almost free. It's as free as you're going to get. And algae was the first life on Earth for almost 4 billion years ago. So it has a purpose, and it was breath and sunlight and sleep. So anyway, so let's get back to phycocyanin. By the way, it's spelled PHYCOCYANIN. And the reason why I want to spell that is because people would never have heard of phycocyanin. Why would you? And you would think it would start with an F, but it doesn't. And I want you to be able to Google the same the research that I have been Googling and finding, which talks about phycocyanin killing cancer cells. I'm going to show you two things. Here's one scientific paper that you can get online, and we can send it to you to link to on notes. So what they did in this particular example was they put cancer cells in a petri dish and they dyed them purple. And then they added phycocyanin to the petri dish, and they took pictures of the cancer cells over a 24-hour period, starting in the upper left and then at the end. After 24 hours of phycocyanin being added to the petri dish, the cancer cells were virtually gone. You can see they're virtually gone. So this is just one example of what happened. So how is it that this phycocyanin is doing this? So I'm going to walk you through the actual pathway. It gets a little geeky, so I'll try to give you some background information first of all. The way that your body creates this stuff called cellular energy, also known as ATP, is through something called, well, there's two steps. There's a Krebs cycle, but I'm only going to talk about the final stages, which are called the electron transport chain. In the electron transport chain, there are 4 molecules embedded in the membrane of your mitochondria. They're proteins. Now, the way that you've all probably seen a relay race where you have a runner who passes a baton to the next runner, then that runner passes the baton to the next one, and hopefully they cross the finish line first and win the big prize. Well, the way that the big prize in your body is energy, cellular energy, ATP. And the way it works is very similar to a relay race, except instead of runners, you have these proteins, and instead of a baton, they pass electrons from one to the next. And the final outcome is the finish line is the ATP. Now, in this process of the 4 runners or the 4 protein molecules, you have 2 helper molecules. One is not shown on this picture, but it's called CoQ10, which most people are familiar with. But the other little helper molecule, which probably most people have never heard of before, is called cytochrome C. Now, in a healthy cell, the blue phycocyanin that's found in spirulina will speed up that helper molecule. It's like having a Tesla or a Ferrari. Vroom. This is one of the reasons why spirulina gives you energy, because it speeds up that helper molecule so that it can get to the finish line faster and generate more ATP for you, which is cellular energy. Okay, so far so good. However, if you have a cancer cell or something called a senescent cell, which is basically a cell that is subdivided so many times that it can't do anything, but it's still inflammatory and it doesn't die. So if you have these cells, what happens is the blue phycocyanin detects that you're in a cancer cell, and instead of speeding up the cytochrome C molecule, which it would do if it was a healthy cell, it ejects it, which triggers something called capases, which triggers something called apoptosis. Apoptosis is what's the term given to healthy cell death. Now, if you have normally healthy cells, after they've lived for a while, it's like someone going into retirement. They go, I've worked here for 50 years. I'm done. Time to retire. And so what a retiree does before they leave is they give away all their projects and all their inside contacts and all the good stuff to the next generation to continue the work. Well, a healthy cell is sort of similar. It goes, hey, I've been doing some great work here, but it's time to go. And so what it goes is through this process called apoptosis, and it subdivides itself into smaller cells, and it gives away all the juicy DNA to all those little smaller cells, and there's no inflammation, but then that cell that's been around says, I'm out of here, and it goes through this apoptosis and it leaves. Now, cancer cells do not know they're sick. They are rogue cells, they're acidic, they use energy in a different format, and they cannot go through this process called apoptosis. They can't kill themselves. This is why cancer spreads so quickly. It is not able to kill itself because it doesn't know it's sick. So the fact that phycocyanin can detect that it's a cancer cell and induce it to go through this process called apoptosis is unbelievable. And in fact, cancer treatment companies include phycocyanin cancer treatments, and the way they detect whether the cancer treatment is working is they measure the amount of cytochrome C molecule in your plasma. Because if there's a lot of cytochrome C, they know that the cancer cells have been killed because that's what it's done. Pretty incredible, right? I don't know anybody who wants chemotherapy. And so we always have cancer cells in our bodies at all times. However, if you have a healthy immune system and if you have healthy mitochondria, they are able to keep the amount of cancer cells down to a manageable level so they never become a chronic situation. However, these days, virtually nobody has a strong immune system and nobody over 40 have enough mitochondria. And even if you're under 40, most of your mitochondria are being damaged because of EMF and toxins and 1,000 other things. So normally, you would be able to manage this process, but we're not in normal circumstances anymore. And so this is why, for many reasons, I feel every single person should be taking spirulina. But here's the catch, and we'll talk about this with superoxide dismutase. Phycocyanin is deactivated by high heat. I have a science research paper that documents this. And virtually most of the other lower priced algae companies, they're lower priced, so they have to sell more. So they have to get to market quickly. So they cut corners. And what's the corner they cut most? Is they use high heat to dry it because it's just faster. And that deactivates the phycocyanin. So it also deactivates that superoxide dismutase that we're going to talk about hopefully next, because that's very important. So you can be getting the blue phycocyanin that's in the spirulina, but it's not working. And the explanation I give to people is like, what if somebody offered you a great deal on a fabulous sports car and you go, yeah, baby, I want that. Then you lift the hood and there's no engine in it. So it looks great, but it doesn't perform. So if you have had algae that's been dried with high heat, and most of it from India and China, that's how they do it, because that's where 99% of algae is grown, because it's contract manufacturing. They slap a label on it. They don't pay any attention to it. We grow ours in Taiwan, which is the gold standard for algae. It's very hard to find companies to grow it carefully, but we have. And we've never used high heat to dry our algae. You could, I will say, get the same benefits of phycocyanin and the superoxide dismutase, which we'll talk about next, if you have raw or frozen spirulina. And I would like to do a shout out to the Hippocrates Institute and the Gershon Institute, which are two amazing healing institutes. Hippocrates has been around for 50 years and Gershon probably almost as long. And they take very sick cancer patients, stage 3, stage 4, and they have about like a 90%, if not higher, recovery rate. And what are the things they do? They give them raw and fresh spirulina every single day. They also give them red light. They also give them sauna. They make them walk outside. All of the things that Mother Nature has provided to us. Now, we're talking to the Hippocrates Institute because they grow their own, so they have access to this stuff. And, frozen or fresh spirulina is very nutrient dense, but our algae has the same nutrients because it's not exposed to high heat, so it's raw. But after you leave there, it's really hard to find. It expires quickly. It's very expensive. You can't travel with it. So they're thinking of using ours for their patients once they've left. So it's a very, very important sort of after treatment process. So phycocyanin, absolutely brilliant. This is why I call algae intelligent food. 2 reasons. You have to be intelligent to take it, number one.
Yes.
And number two, it knows what to do in your body. How amazing is that? You don't have to tell it, it just does it. That's intelligent.
That is intelligence. And I mean, so many things I want to say about that. First and foremost, I was going to actually bring up the Hippocrates Health Institute. So thank you for mentioning them. We've worked with them for years. They have about 35, 40 clear light saunas on their campus. I've been there a few times. Amazing place. And that was one of the things that I observed the first time I went there was they give you raw spirulina right out of the gate. And they keep you, you're basically, your food is your nutrition while you're there. They provide you with all these different modalities, as well as obviously you're in this gorgeous campus. But essentially, you're doing yoga, you've got all these beautiful green spaces, and then you have red light therapy and sauna and different things, but it's really about the nutrition. They get after that right away. That's ground zero foundational.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is I was there speaking about and educating on infrared saunas, but I spent a few days there talking to people that were there, and most of them were for cancer, and just asking them, like, their journey, their story, like, how has it been since they, got there? Within 24 to 48 hours.
Oh,
people.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Like, it's life changing. Like, they immediately, of course, it's not like, oh, they're just, it's not just cured, if you will. And that's not a word I like to use loosely, but within 24 to 48 hours of the spirulina and then just wiping out the garbage off their plates, it's night and day difference for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people the algae is a foundational part because it's so nutritionally dense. But all we need to do, I know it sounds simple and it's very hard to do in this crazy world, is give your body what it needs and remove what it doesn't.
Right.
That's it. It doesn't get any more complicated. But finding the good sources of what it needs is the challenge, and understanding what you do need to remove, which is not just toxins and heavy metals, but also stress and self-depreciating thoughts. And, you have to really love yourself. And once you start doing that, you will automatically want to feed yourself proper things. You will automatically want to do all these nourishing things. I tell people, think of yourself as a baby. You wouldn't intentionally feed a baby things that you knew were bad for them. You would give them everything they need to be nourished and flourished. And so we're just big babies. But somehow there's been a disconnect between caring for ourselves and feeling guilty about it, or not even knowing how our bodies operate. I tell people we know more about our car and our phone than we do about ourselves, which is unfortunate. So I try to explain to people how their body works and how algae is like the key that fits the lock that opens the door to great health. And of course, there's other modalities like the sleep and the walking and the red light and the sauna that speed that up and maintain that for you. Yeah. But I have a lot of admiration for Hippocrates, big time.
Same. Yeah, we humans, we like to complicate things, don't we? It's really not that difficult. And, again, going back to Mother Nature providing for us, if we just go back to basics, and I love your analogy about the baby. Yeah, we absolutely wouldn't intentionally do that. So why as adults do we do that? And that's exactly how my wheel started. Was my catalyst was heavy metals, and then later a stroke that basically paralyzed and flatlined me. But
oh gosh,
the whole left side of the body was paralyzed for a few years. And if you saw me today, you wouldn't know that I was paralyzed. I still do struggle a bit with some left-hand motor function. Pretty much, had to become my own health advocate and put myself back together because I ran into a lot of different dead-end roads with some other treatment options and such. But really what it was, I got the wheel going in the right direction. And so to your point, it was like, okay, I needed to fix this one thing. And for you, like you said, you started researching for your sister, but then the wheel gets momentum. And it's like, oh, okay, my sleep is affecting this. Oh, okay, my food and my, my late night snacking is not serving me well. So I'm going to stop doing that. And instead, I'm going to replace it with some spirulina and some other things at the beginning of my day to set me up for better energy. So it was years researching and finding ways in which I could optimize my health and well-being, but doing something as easy as taking your vegetables, if you will, in the morning or afternoon, whatever serves you, is just a fantastic way to get that energy and get that momentum and get that mindset to get going in the right direction. So
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch gear. You wanted to talk about SOD, correct? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, yes, and then and definitely then we'll get to chlorella. So thank you for mentioning about the cancer because it's escalating, and I'm all about prevention, and we can help people a lot if we can get the message out that Mother Nature has provided for us, and don't listen to society, don't listen to the media. They just want to sell you stuff and keep you fat and loaded with toxins and seed oils so that then you'll need pharmaceuticals. Your body is from nature. You will absorb the nutrients from food better because food is from nature, just like algae. Algae is food. And the analogy I also make is that algae is like listening to an orchestra. Taking a supplement is like listening to a grade 3 soloist or a bunch of them, and they're all playing different instruments from different music. It's chaos. It's just like, so supplements are not the answer. There are exceptions. There are a few exceptions of good companies making it from real food, but in most cases, they're not. And so you're not absorbing them. You're wasting your money. And algae will replace virtually, especially spirulina, at least 5 or 6 of them, a multivitamin, a CoQ10. Stop taking fish oil, please. It's rancid by the time you take it. A collagen powder. There's a lot of things that it will replace, and it will also replace your protein. So when you take spirulina, at least take 10 tablets. By the way, our NHL players, and we work with NFL teams, triathletes, they have like the NHL players, they have 75 spirulina before a game and 75 chlorella after. The 75 spirulina are to give them energy and focus on the ice because they're very fast moves. And the chlorella will pull out the lactic acid afterwards. So no upper limit. Have as much as you like, but 10 is a starter amount. 30 is really for lunch or a therapeutic amount. But they will replace virtually, at least most, if not all, of your other supplements. Anyways, so one of the nutrients I want to dig deeper into on the spirulina, it's also found in chlorella, but a lesser degree. And spirulina is still my favorite because it gets absorbed so quickly because it's a bacteria. There's a nutrient called superoxide dismutase. It's an antioxidant. And why is this so important? Well, once again, we're from nature. Mother Nature is so wise. We are a very complicated, fine-tuned piece of equipment, and she provided everything to be sure the equipment worked perfectly as long as we paid attention to it. One of these nutrients that are provided to us, like hormones and melatonin, is this antioxidant called superoxide dismutase. And what does this antioxidant do? Well, in that process of generating cellular energy called ATP, and that process where the runners, the molecules, have to pass electrons from one another, all of that is done inside the mitochondria. But what people don't realize is that your mitochondria have their own DNA. We have our regular, they're called nuclear DNA, and there's 22,000 of those. But your mitochondria have their own DNA, and there's only 37 of them. So you think, oh, well, that can't be very important. But it is, because those 37 control absolutely everything goes on in your body, including your 22,000 other mitochondria. Okay, so here's your cell. And inside of these little peanut-shaped things that are your mitochondria, and inside the mitochondria, that's where that ATP is produced, okay? Now, what you don't know is that a byproduct of the ATP is something called free radicals. You've probably heard about free radicals. They're a molecule with an unpaired electron. Mother Nature likes balance. So in order to achieve balance, there's 2 things that could happen. That electron, that molecule, will steal another electron from another molecule to balance itself out, which leaves it unbalanced. So now it will steal from another molecule, and that's how tissue damage occurs. Or there's these knights in shining armor called antioxidants. And antioxidants have extra electrons. It's like the kid that came to school with extra lunches so they could give extra lunches away to their friends who didn't have one. And those antioxidants neutralize the free radical because they give them that extra electron. So far, so good. We know that blueberries are really good, vitamin C, vitamin E. These are all really good antioxidants. The problem is your mitochondria, and I can tell you where this came from later. Your mitochondria have 2 membranes. The first membrane, which all of your cells have, which is a lipid membrane that allows antioxidants in and out, that's fine. But your mitochondria has a second inner membrane, which is impenetrable by virtually all antioxidants. There are a handful, like chlorophyll, superoxide dismutase, and glutathione, which, by the way, are all in the highest concentration in algae. These can get into the inner membrane. Also melatonin can, and so can CoQ10. But the main one is called superoxide dismutase, because the type of free radical that is produced as a byproduct of ATP is called superoxide. And it is known as being the most damaging free radical in your entire body. And I was curious about what made it so damaging. Turns out it has 3 unpaired electrons, not just 1, 3. So it's very damaging. It's only produced in the mitochondria. So this stuff called superoxide dismutase, which is an antioxidant produced by your body from the moment you're born until about the age of 40, when it decreases to virtually nothing, this superoxide dismutase demutes, which means to dim. It neutralizes that free radical called superoxide. Ta-da! So what exactly does it do? Well, it converts that free radical into harmless water and oxygen. So it neutralizes it. The analogy I make is like if you've ever been caught in a rainstorm and you had one of those big golf umbrellas, right? You pop that baby up, you can put 5 people on there. Now, you didn't stop the rain, but you stopped getting wet. That's what superoxide dismutase does for your mitochondria. It does not stop the rain of free radicals because they are a natural byproduct of ATP. However, it neutralizes them. So it's like having that golf umbrella. So the mitochondria are protected and are not damaged. Now, this happens from the moment you're born until 30. And then after 30, the golf umbrella, because your production of superoxide dismutase starts to slow down. So now it's about the size of a totes umbrella, city umbrella. So now your mitochondria kind of dodging raindrops or free radicals, getting a little damaged, but not too bad. By the time you're 40, maybe a little after, your body is not making superoxide dismutase, just like it stops making hormones, just like it slows down making melatonin. Why? Because we have been on Earth 2 million years. And up to 150 years ago, we died at 30. We are biologically programmed, evolutionarily programmed to die at 30. So Mother Nature is wise and always will use the best resources for the best purposes. So biologically, our systems, our bodies are preparing us for death after the age of 30. And so now that we're living to 70 and 80 and 90, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem because our bodies aren't making melatonin like they used to. Our bodies aren't making hormones like they used to. And they're not making superoxide dismutase like they used to. And my theory about why chronic disease escalates, goes through the roof after 40 is because that's exactly when our bodies stop making this superoxide dismutase. We've lost our golf umbrella. And without that golf umbrella protecting our mitochondria, DNA, they get damaged, they die, they mutate. Mitochondria are what keep the lights on, or like the lights in your building. When your lights go out in your office tower, you just call maintenance and they come and replace it, right? Or if you have a power outage, you can't do any work, so you leave. No light means no work. Your mitochondria are the same thing. They generate the work, they are the light bulbs, but they also generate the electricity. And when they go out, your lights go out. In your brain, in your body, there's not enough energy for your body to do anything. Neurotransmitters, lymphatic system, metabolic health, elimination, digestion, everything suffers because it doesn't have enough electricity. So when we can start bringing back the mitochondria, because I've left the punchline to the end, spirulina has the highest concentration of superoxide dismutase in the world. We measure it, it's there. But the same thing with the blue phycocyanin. It's not only an antioxidant, it's also an enzyme. And all enzymes are deactivated by high heat. So all that cheaper algae that you're buying from China and India that used high heat to dry it, the superoxide dismutase was there, but it's a dud because as soon as it's exposed to high heat, it's dead. Just like the enzymes are dead in your vegetables if you drop them in water and boil them. It's just the way it is. But we can get your lights back on by simply giving you spirulina, raw spirulina. It could be ours, it could be frozen or fresh, but that superoxide dismutase will go straight into the mitochondria, repair it, protect it, and bring it back to life. And that's why I'd say it's like getting your lights turned back on, especially in your brain, which has the most mitochondria. Superoxide dismutase is, I think, the missing piece. And there's a whole nother piece that I've done some research on. I'm going to be sharing on Dave Asprey's podcast, which relates to easy water. I'm not sure if you're familiar with exclusionary water, but so there's two things that the superoxide dismutase does. A, it protects your mitochondria from free radical damage. But the other thing, and this gets back to the whole alkalinity of the cell. The thing that keeps the cell alkaline is water and oxygen. And what's the byproduct of the superoxide dismutase converting the free radicals? Is water and oxygen. So it automatically keeps the cell alkaline because it's the byproduct of changing these free radicals into something else. And there's something called the rate limiting factor, which is oxygen. So in those four molecules where the molecule is passing the electron from one runner to the next, the final step, which is where that finish line is, you can't cross the finish line without oxygen. And as you get fewer mitochondria and you have less oxygen, two things happen. Your ATP production is dropped, which means your cellular energy drops, and your cell becomes acidic, which invites cancer or any kind of disease. So now this superoxide dismutase, which is not only protecting your mitochondria, the byproduct from that transmutation are the two things that your cells need the most to stay healthy: oxygen and water. And the water piece is because it's a cellular structure around the molecules, which is called exclusionaries of water. So again, superoxide dismutase is the knight in shining armor. And we had that knight until we were the age of 40. And after 40, we're left in battle with no protection. But we can get it back from Spirulina.
Oh, thank you for sharing all that. I think you just answered my question. Was going to tee up about a lot of my listeners, women, menopause, perimenopause, energy decrease, all these things. How do you turn the lights back on? People looking for answers, and you literally just gave us the answer.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And on that note, women, like men and women, we all lose this superoxide dismutase after the age of 40. But women, we suffer more when we get into the perimenopause and menopause. And why is that? It's because that's when our estrogen level drops. And nobody tells you, but estrogen acts as an antioxidant in the mitochondria. So we are getting hit twice as hard as men. We all lose the superoxide dismutase, but we also lose the protective capability of that estrogen. This is why women suffer more from depression, anxiety, dementia, Alzheimer's, because our brains have the highest concentration of mitochondria, 2 million per cell. And so the double whammy of losing the superoxide dismutase and the estrogen, which is protective of the mitochondria, this is where we see the most impact, is in our brains. But the good news is we can correct that. And we've done a couple of our own little small clinical trials to prove that not just Spirulina, but our Spirulina does that. Yeah, it's really amazing.
I think I saw a study that you were talking about veterans in particular, like PTSD and severe levels of anxiety and depression. Do you want to mention anything specific about that study?
Yeah, and it was small, but it was still very effective. So this group in Florida called the Gray Team, grayteam.org, their purpose is to reduce the suicide rate of military veterans, which is between 35 and 50%. I mean, think about that. It's just heartbreaking. So they're trying everything to find a way to correct that. And we met them at Dave's show and multiple other shows. So they invited us to do a small study, which we did. And we took men and women that had been discharged for over 10 years who still had post-traumatic stress disorder, sleep issues. One individual had multiple sclerosis. And what we did was we did a brain scan before we did the test. And then we gave them one pouch of our Spirulina tablets, which have 30 tablets in them. We told them not to change anything else, no dietary changes, no lifestyle changes, no anything. And we also wired them up to something called a WAVI machine, which measures their HRV and their sleep and whatever. So we did a brain scan, gave them 30 Spirulina tablets every day. After 30 days, we did a brain scan again. Now, the first brain scan showed no activity. So it was all blue, and I'm looking for a picture of it. And this happens with athletes, by the way. When they have a concussion and they do a brain scan, the brain shows up blue, that no activity, because activity is red and yellow and lots of bright colors. So they all had blue. After the 30 days, all of the brain activity was back. Blue, yellow, green. It showed that all the inflammation was gone. And we could have probably done that brain scan after a week and had the same results. And also some of them, their HRV increased like 50%, their sleep improved, the person with multiple sclerosis, their tremors went away. So 30 days. But again, it could have been in a shorter period of time. And we recently did another study, again, with a small group of people, but this time we chose half men, half women, and all over the age of 50, because that's when chronic disease is really kicking in. And we did the same thing. This was with blood tests, though. There's a company called MeScreen. You can do blood tests online, mescreen.com. And it will test the health of your mitochondria. So, and how much ATP is generating and all, and free radicals. So we did a blood test first. Then we gave them spirulina tablets. This time we actually doubled the dose. We made them take 60, which was a lot. We did another blood test after 7 days, and then a blood test after 30. After the 7 days, Dr. Hema Patel was overseeing the study for us. He's the PhD doctor who does all of Joe Dispenza's brain research. So he's a pretty impressive guy, and he has a huge lab at University of Southern California, San Diego. So he was overseeing our research. And after 7 days, when we looked at all the numbers, he said the only time he'd seen anything that even came remotely close, but not as good as our results, was with another clinical trial he had done where people were doing intermittent fasting for 90 days. When you do intermittent fasting, what happens is you're squeezing your eating time into a small window. And what that does is it takes the pressure off your mitochondria to convert all this food you're eating into ATP energy. So it gives the cell a chance to basically clean up, which is a process called autophagy. Now, when your cell is clean and it doesn't have as many toxins and garbage in there, it's going to work better. Just like, if you have your teenagers clean up their room, you can see stuff in there, right? Or you take your car to the car wash, there's where that, lost $5 bill went, blah, blah, blah. So your cells are the same thing. When you clean them up, things just work better. We found that after 90 days of this intermittent fasting, which gave the cells chance to clean up so their ATP production was improving, he got even better results from 7 days of spirulina, because the ATP levels increased, I think, 20 or 30%. The capacity of the mitochondria increased. The number of free radicals, ROS, decreased. And that was only after 7 days. So you could do 7 days of spirulina and get the same results of 90 days of intermittent fasting. And I say, well, the best thing, and this was what I do, is you combine the two of them. You use spirulina for your intermittent fasting. Now you're getting the autophagy, you're getting the apoptosis, you're getting the superoxidation, you're getting all the juicy good stuff, the protein, and you're getting cellular cleaning and cellular health. So that was another really awesome study that we did. We're very small, so we still have to do teeny ones, but we will step up and do more.
Oh gosh, that's impressive. And to be working with Dr. Patel, obviously, that speaks volumes. But all of these things, stacking stuff, I think a lot of people get in analysis paralysis because they think they need to be doing all of the things, right? Yeah. Especially if you go to Dave's Wonderland, that event is like, oh my gosh, I come home from that and I'm like reeling for days and weeks on end trying to figure out like all the things that you need to be doing, when really, again, going back to your foundational point, that it's simple. You can integrate some of these foundational things. Intermittent fasting paired with spirulina is fabulous. It's a way in which you can achieve not just like brain health and nourishment, but also I have to mention your skin is fantastic. For those that are going to tune in to the video of it, like your health is fantastic. You look fantastic, skin health. We glow from the inside out, and it's what we're nourishing ourselves with is what speaks volume on the exterior of this.
Exactly.
What you suit we're carrying around.
Yeah, is what's going on inside. And I don't do any Botox. Everything works. And I'm turning 70 next year, 70. So I want people to know this stuff works. I poop well. I sleep well. I just got my PhD. This is all my hair, no extensions. This is my teeth. There's no, whatever they call it, no fillers. So if I can do it, everybody else can do it too, because I get all of my nourishment from my spirulina. Then I do eat, and but I eat selectively. Then I do intermittent fasting. But then the eating becomes more entertainment for taste. I get my nourishment from the spirulina. And then the chlorella, because you were talking about all your toxic load and the detox with the chlorella. I moved into Miami into a brand new luxury condo that I purchased after saving for years and years. And they discovered black mold in a brand new building. And I was feeling for 3 months or 6 months, I was feeling fatigue, like so not myself. I was like swimming. It was like walking through water. And finally, when they discovered the black mold, that's what was causing it. So we had a remediation, cut all my walls, got rid of the mold. I hired a functional medicine doctor. I had all my blood work done. But I loaded up as soon as I know it was black mold, boom, I was tripling, quadrupling chlorella. And literally within 3 weeks, I was back to normal. But it was really bad. And the functional medicine doctor said, that chlorella saved your life and I'm sure it did. But it's horrific and there's so much black mold, particularly in places that are warm, like Florida and all the southern states. So, and lots of companies when they rent, if there's black mold, unscrupulous landlords will just paint on top of it. It turns out it triggered Epstein-Barr. So, but the chlorella literally saved my life too. So
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. And that's a lot of our listeners. My wheelhouse has been infrared heat and saunas and detox for the last 15, 16 years. So this conversation is every day. People call me to look for ways in which they're, interested in a sauna, but they're also looking in for some other supporting things they can do to support their body. And I don't like the supplement industry, to go back to what you shared earlier. Absolutely $1 trillion industry for a machine reason. I think a lot of people are waking up to that, but something like this, going back to Mother Nature, ways in which that you can support your body, especially if you do discover something in your home or your workplace. For me, some lead-based paint and some lead in my work environment at the time, which is, not a discredit to the employer. It was just an unforeseen thing. It was an old building from the 50s, right? Like, you just don't know. But
yeah,
you discover these things, you have to have some things in your arsenal and some things in your toolkit. And the quality matters. And you had mentioned, your smaller business with not the grandiose resources. I think that's more important, actually, because I think people are starting to question some of these bigger companies, like, what is the intention? And so clearly you're elevating off your chair. Like, you're so passionate about this. It's very obvious. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, is so that we could get a direct line to you. EnergyBits is obviously on my website. I've been talking about it for a long time. I love it. I take it every day. And I'm really grateful to be connected with you and for you to share all this information today.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy what this stuff does.
Why don't you chat a little bit about...
Well, just because, especially with sauna and red light, chlorella is very detoxing, cleansing, and it's gut food. And the reason for that is that spirulina has no cellulose wall. Chlorella has the hardest cell wall in the plant kingdom. And that's why I designed all the packaging. I put a plant on the package. That hard cell wall attaches to the heavy metals, doesn't matter, lead, glyphosate, pesticides, lactic acid, alcohol, by the way, and chelates them, which means pulls them out. So that's number one. Hard cell wall chelates them. Chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Spirulina is known for having the highest protein. Chlorella is called chlorella because of the chlorophyll, right? And ella means tiny, so it's very tiny. But chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula, 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. There's nothing in the world with more chlorophyll than chlorella. And the thing I want to tell you about chlorophyll is that it's virtually identical to the chemical composition of your hemoglobin. But our food doesn't have any chlorophyll anymore because the soils are so damaged, they can't pull up any nutrients. Here's the chemical composition of chlorophyll on the right, and here's your hemoglobin. The only difference is your hemoglobin has iron in the middle to carry oxygen. Chlorophyll flat out builds your blood. Boom. When you have healthy blood, you're going to have a healthier body, a healthy organ. Now, remember, spirulina does have some chlorophyll, but chlorella has the most. So it pulls out toxins, builds your blood. Also, chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. The blue pigment in spirulina is called phycocyanin. It's a water-based pigment. Why is it important to know that chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment? Because remember I said all our cells have a cell wall that's made of fats. It's called a lipid membrane. Well, chlorophyll heals those lipid membranes just like vitamin A, vitamin D. But of course, we're not getting enough chlorophyll in any of our food to have that therapeutic amount. So you'll get it from the chlorella. Then chlorophyll is known for killing bacteria. Remember I said, Mother Nature's cleanup crew. So if you do chew it, it kills bacteria in your mouth. It does it with spirulina too, but also in your colon. There's so much colon cancer going on right now. So we want to get rid of all the bacteria and all the toxins. And also chlorella has the highest tryptophan in the world. But tryptophan triggers serotonin, which is your happy molecule, and melatonin, which helps you sleep. So it helps you get into a deep sleep. And even more importantly, it stimulates what's called peristalsis, which is a fancy word for saying bowel movements. I call this the junk in your trunk, because the way that you detox, as you know, is through breath, sweat, urine, and bowel movements. And most people do not like to talk about the fact they're constipated, but so many people are. If you're on medications, if you're traveling, if you're stressed, if you're eating dairy, processed foods, you're not moving, you are probably constipated. If you aren't having a bowel movement every day, you're probably constipated. Chlorella will eliminate that problem. Not spirulina, just chlorella. It's the blend of the chlorophyll and all the other juicy stuff that's in there. Now, it also has something called chlorella growth factor, which stimulates the growth of your own cells. When you sleep, this is when your body repairs itself and detoxes. So if you take chlorella before bed, you can take it during the day as well. I do. I have it in the morning and the afternoon, and it helps with digestion. But please be sure to take it before bed, because it will stimulate improved detox. It will heal cell walls, and it will help you with that bowel movement in the morning. So this is very much a PM algae, whereas spirulina is an AM algae. You could take them together instead of food, with food. And chlorella, same thing. 10 would be a starter amount for the cleansing and the immune building, because it also builds your immune system, which that fiber in the cell wall feeds your gut biome so it can get the healthy bacteria. But 30 is the therapeutic detox amount. So 30 is really better, but 10 would get you started. Same with spirulina. And when you use it with saunas or red light, we generally are encouraging you to take spirulina first because of the rapid absorption. It still has chlorophyll. And when you're in the sauna or the cold plunge or cryo or any treatment, by the way, chlorophyll and red light recirculate that CoQ10 molecule. I didn't talk about it much, but it's that other helper molecule. So it also reduces inflammation and speeds up ATP. So generally spirulina before any treatment, chlorella afterwards, because it's the cleanup crew. So anything that's released during the sauna, the sweating, you don't want it to be reabsorbed. You want to get rid of it. And that's what chlorella will do for you, and get rid of all that garbage and all those toxins that you don't want circulating around. So they work really well together, but they're quite different. Spirulina, very much brain food, nourishment. Chlorella, very detox gut food.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Everybody's getting spirulina and chlorella EnergyBits for Christmas from me this year.
Yeah, right. Yes, there's great
Like the
gifts.
gift of wellness. I wanted to know the difference between the colors. You held them up on the screen. Which one is the lighter one? Because my husband blended ours together thinking they were the same thing. And so now I've got to go through and take my bits apart.
Yeah, that's too funny. So spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, it appears to the eye dark because of the blue. And the chlorella, which is just the recovery bits, is just the green chlorophyll.
And thank you for clarifying the color, just to make sure. I was thinking that was the case, but I wanted to double check with you. So where can people find you? In the show notes, we'll have all the links for those that want to get the discount code and get started on it. But where can people find you and connect with you if they want to learn more?
Yes, and we write a blog every month, so lots of great science. The website is EnergyBits.com, ENERGY, B for boy, T for Tom, S for Sam, EnergyBits. We call them bits because they're bits of nutrition. There is nothing else in there, just 100% spirulina, 100% chlorella, although we do have a brand called Vitality Bits, which is red, and it's a blended tablet, so if you want that kind of thing. Now, we have that discount code, Jen Heller, all one word, no space in between, that will give you the 20%. The best value, we have canisters, which are really fun. The canisters come with a bag inside them, and they have this little fun opening. So you open the bag, put the tablets into the canister, and then you shake them out through the opening. Now, you only buy a canister once, and then when you run out of tablets, you simply replenish with a bag. The best value are the bags. There's 1,000 tablets, and if you use that Jen Heller discount code to get you 20% off, 10 tablets will cost you $1 a day. And if you took 10 a day, a bag will last you 3 months. Now, remember, you can clear out virtually all of your other supplements. This is food, okay? So this is your nutritional insurance Chlorella is your wellness insurance. Your kids won't have colds, by the way. Give this to your kids. Give them the same number of tablets as their age or half of their age. So if they're 4, give them 2 to 4. If they're 10, give them, 5 to 10. Pets, love them. Absolutely love them. Their coats will be shiny. Their breath will be fresh. They get all the same diseases we do. They will love you, love you, love you. So drop a few on the floor for them and give them the same portion as you might a child.
Like I said, they are brilliant. So thank you so much, Catharine. Oh my gosh, you are a breath of fresh air. So I learned so much today. I have so many more questions, but you've answered all of them for today, for sure.
Well, and just so you know, we launched my own website. It's CatharineArnston.com, CATHARINE, Arnston, ARNSTON, because I do want to get speaking on more conferences at corporate wellness events. We need to get this information out to people. I'm ultimately an educator, and we do it by selling our product, but this is very important information. So if anybody wants to book me as a speaker, that's where you can find more information about me.
Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. That is very important, because that is what us light workers are here to do, is share information, get this out to as many people as possible. And it's not about selling anything. It's about education. I always tell people I'm not a salesperson. I'm an educator. I'm a wellness educator always. So thank you so much, Catharine. I am so grateful that we are connected. I'll for sure see you at the next Dave Asprey conference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're already signed up. I'll be speaking. Yeah.
Yep, so good. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, friends and fellow wellness warriors, thanks for tuning in today. If this show was helpful and inspired you, please head over to Apple or Spotify to rate, review, subscribe, and follow us, as well as share it with your friends and family. It's a fantastic way to grow the show, expand my reach, and teach others how to create a vibrant life they love. If you're ready to invest in your health and purchase a Clear Light sauna, hop on over to jenhellerlifestyle.com and send me a note. Thanks again for tuning in. I love you. I'm grateful for you, and I thank you so much for your support. You are the reason I do this work. You are the reason I do this show. And you are the reason I get up every single day with a burning desire in my soul. Cheers to your health and happiness, my friends. We'll see you next week. This podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to be substituted for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you think you have a medical condition, consult your licensed physician.